Hello everybody. I hope all of you are having a good day. My name is Chamundeshwari. Today I would like to make a supplementary explanation video for the analysis done on online retail sales dataset as a part of placement test series for CloudyML. Data source is provided by CloudyML in Excel format and it has 8 data columns in 2 Excel sheets for year 2009-10 and 10-11, and it has a range of cells. To be precise, combining both the Excel sheets, we have a little over a million rows which need to be analyzed. Let's start with the data columns. Let's start with the feel of the data, how it looked. It We have invoice, stock code, we have details of invoice, stock code, description, quantity, invoice date, price, customer ID, and the country in the data set. Let's go briefly through the data columns. Invoice number in general has had 6-digit integer number, and if it is starting with letter C, it means that the invoice has been cancelled. And the stock code is a 5-digit number uniquely assigned for each distinct product, and description is just the product name. Excuse me. Quantity is a quantity of each product per transaction, and invoice date is the date and time on which the transaction was generated. Unit price is the product price per unit and it's in sterling, and customer ID is a 5-digit integral number which is uniquely assigned to each customer. Country is the country name in which the customer resides, and because the unit price is in pound sterling, it is important to understand that the entity online retail entity belongs to United Kingdom, basically is in United Kingdom. So let's start with question number 1, which is identify and remove any duplicate records in the dataset. What method did you use to ensure that only unique transactions are analyzed? Relevant Excel functions is remove duplicates and counters. Well, before answering this question, one thing I made sure is that everything is given as a range of values, as a range of cells, that is columns and rows in the Excel sheet, and I have changed that particular range into a table because we have a lot of rows and it takes a lot of time if you leave it as it is as a range. So one thing I made sure for data efficiency and productivity to increase it, I have changed the entire range into a table. This also ensures that I am dealing with the dynamic data and not just static data. So let's go with the solution to the question 1. I used remove duplicates option which is present in data tab. Because it is a table, I could have used table design tab 2. Either way it is okay. You have the remove duplicates option in both of that, and have removed duplicates on the basis of invoice data, stock code, and invoice. Why did I do that? When you go through the data, it is clear that the level of detail is at the level of stock code for this particular data, and it's important that it's kept, the level of detail is kept at the stock code itself. You would get to know that while I go further into this video explanation, but it's important that you leave the stock code level of detail as it is. And based on the data set and the requirements, it is clear that at any given invoice date, for that particular invoice date, the invoice generated and stock code as a combination must never be same, and if they are, it means that it's duplicated. Let's say for example the invoice date over here is 01/12/2009 for 745, and the invoice code is 48943 and 85048 for all these columns. It means that the invoice, they are duplicates in the data set. That's what I mean by as a combination. To make sure that that's why I considered invoice date, stock code, and invoice to remove duplicates using the remove duplicates option in the data tab, and have removed it. After removing it, you have a total of 5,12,128 unique values for 2009 and 10, and 5,31,231 unique values for 2010 and 11. And just to make sure that the duplicates are properly dealt with, I have run a countIF function based on invoice stock code and invoice date as a combination to check it as a combination. If the combination of it is more than one in the counter, it means that they are still duplicates in the data set. But in this particular case, the counters are always one. So we made extra sure that we have removed duplicates in this data set. And then before going to question number two, I have gone through certain other data cleaning steps for preparing the data for our analysis. Let me go through it one by one. For the year 2009 and 10, we have seen that invoice number in general has six integral digits, and if it is starting with letter C, it means that it's cancelled. But in this data set, I have observed that there are entries in the invoice that start with letter A, and after going through it uh, manually, first thing I have run a run a step series in Power Query Editor wherein I check the number of characters in the invoice, and in some cases, even though it has more than the constraint that is present in the data set, that is six integral digit number, they in majority of the instances, all of them seem to be genuine cases. How did I know that? While going through it manually too. How did I do that? I have first checked the length of the characters, and then I have grouped it by invoices, and then I have checked based on that, uh, taking into account the stock code, description, quantity, and all other details. You could see in the description over here that there is an adjusted bad debt, which is an accounting entry. Accounting entry should not form part of the sales analysis over here because they are not sale value. Adjusted bad debt is not a sale value. So I made sure that we are not dealing with these kind of things for our analysis. And this thing has been repeated for 2010 and 11 too. There are instances over here, and I have taken that out of the analysis question too. Even though you could see that there are only just three of that, it is important that you consider this properly based on the for you would know why I'm saying this based on the after we go further into the video, because let me make it clear itself. In the problem statements, we need to find out the 90th percentile of the product price. Here, having details like this would really not would give you absolute results for that particular problem statement. So that's the reason why that you absolutely clean it up, even though they're just three of it. Data quality issue, no matter the count of the issue, is important to be taken care of to have a proper analysis and a meaningful analysis insights. And then I've done the data cleaning steps for the stock code too. The stock code again is a 5-digit integral number. That's what we have expected. But I have run a series of code in the Power Query Editor, and I have based on the length of the character, length of the stock code, and by cross verifying with the description, I have found out certain accounting entries in the stock code based on stock code too, like postage discount.com. Postage generally is observed in the uh, online business is present over here, and the carriage gift cards are clearly a liability. Bank charges, samples, all of them are either expenses, and they are not part of sales value. To put it simply, they're all part of the accounting entries of the organization, but they could never form part of the sales value because they are not sale value. So for that reason, I have not included these kind of stock codes for the analysis for our analysis. The same is done for 2010 and 11 too. And then yeah, we can see that there are certain missing values in the description which are less than 1%. That's all right. You really cannot make it more meaningful than you could just handle it or leave it as it is. It really doesn't make a lot of difference because it's less than 1% of over a million rows. and its description, and it is practical to have missing values in description. And then you could see that there are certain values wherein they are null values in the customer id column too, and it is practical to expect null values in customer id because you don't really need to be registered with the business to actually able to make an order with them. You could just be a guest, you could just make a guest transaction and the order would still make way to your home. That's why. And then year 2009 and 10, what exactly are the entries we are dealing with over here? And it is from 1 to 2009 to 9/12/2020. And also in the quantity, there are negative values which is expected if they are cancellations. But there are also certain entries which are not cancellations, but we do have negative values in the quantities. And after going to certain IDs like 489, 464, 489, 463, 467 and other entries have come, we could see that these are all corrections made to the invoice values, as in say I want, say they have sold cake stands but in the description they have wrongly typed as candlesticks. So in order to make those errors good, they are instances of negative values in the quantity as we have observed, and these are made to make good the errors caused at the time of transaction, and these are actually important and they are not taken out of the analysis part. And then I have done the same for 2010 and 11 and observed less than 1% missing values in the description and also 25% null values in the customer id column. Excuse me, give me a moment. And then the negative values continued for both cancellations and corrections for 2010 and 11 too, but they are entries in 2010 and 11 from 1 to 2010 to 9/12/2010, which are already part of 2009 to 2010. So they are duplicated again for some reason, so they are not considered for this analysis again. How did I do that? I filtered out these rows out of the 2010 and 11 dataset using the Power Query editor, and after doing all these steps, I have combined both of these tables into a single table, into a single combined sales table using Power Query editor of MS Excel. That's what I have done. Now let's go to question number 2. Transactions with invoices starting with C are cancellations. Create a new column to flag these cancellations and calculate the total value of cancelled transactions. Relevant Excel functions are left if, sum ifs, and some product. And here the functional arguments, you could see that logical test using the left function, that is if the first character of the invoice is C, then the value is cancelled and the other one is normal. That's what I have done here too. Let me show it to you clearly. Not here. No. Not this too. Just a moment. Just a moment. Yeah, here. See. Here. I have done this. Left invoice 1 is equals to C, cancelled, normal. That's how it is done in 2009 analysis using the pivot table. You could see that the cancellations are taken to the rows field of the pivot table fields, and then sum of sales is taken to the values values field of the pivot fields, which would give you the total quantity of the sales which were cancelled. For 910 it's minus 5 lakh 5,68,652, and for 1011 the cancellation sales are 5,94,023 rupees. And using SumIf, how would you do? You just give the criteria as cancel, and where do you find these values, cancelled values in the data set? You will find it in the cancellations column in the data set. So the range is 2010 and 11 or 9 and 10 based on for which year you're doing it, cancellations. And then the sum range is the total sales. So the column would be the table name, and the column here over here is sales. Using that, I found out the values are so and so for this particular year. We could do this through some product through, which is you just multiply the multiply quantity, price, and the left of invoice one with C condition. You keep it in a bracket. It's important you keep it in parenthesis with a double negative, because a conditional column would always give you a boolean values, and boolean values could not be multiplied in some product directly, so you have to coerce them to be as 1 or 0. That's the reason why you need to introduce double negative for this. Remember that, and you multiply just three of those, then you would get the same answer. And then let's go to question number 3. Analyze the sales performance per product. What are the top 5 selling products by quantity and by revenue? Relevant Excel functions are SUMIF, VLOOKUP, large index, match, and pivot table. Here I have used a pivot table wherein the product description is taken to the rows field of the pivot table fields and total sales to the value. And using the value, I used value filters for the product description, and I have used the top 10 filter, and I filtered it to only top 5 for sum of sales to find out the top 5 selling products for total sales for 2009 10 and 10 11. I have done it for both the years. And in case when I wanted to find the top 5 selling products by quantity, I just replace the sum of sales over here with the sum of quantity. That's how it's done. Let's go to next question. Determine the average unit price per item and identify whose unit price is above the 90th percentile. Relevant functions are average if, percentile, INC, and then if. How did I do that? Percentile, INC included. Array is the average item price, and how did I find out the average item price? I just put the product description into the rows field of the pivot table, and then average of price into the value section, and change the summarization value to the summarization value to average, because by default it is sum, so I changed it to average. Average of price, average item price. That's how I got the average item price. The array is given for every product description. I've given the average of price as an array, and then the kth value is 0.9, because I want to find out the 90th percentile. And then I have copy pasted it there itself, so that it wouldn't change dynamically with the filters that I have applied. And then I have applied a filter on the product description and included only products that are above the 90th percentile unit price range. I've done it for both 2010 and 11 and 9 and 10, and on the overall basis too, the average unit price at the 90th percentile is 8 pounds. And then for question 5, who are the top 10 customers by total spending? Create a ranking column to order customers based on the amount spent. Relevant functions are SUMIF, rank.eq, index, and match. First, I have put customer ID into rows and total sales into the values fields of the pivot table functions. And then I made sure using the label filter for customer ID I have taken which does not contain blank, because I have said that they are blank values in the data set regarding the customers. It's important that I filter this out, because inherently the ranking column assumes that the customers need to be known. You cannot rank someone who is not known by you. So take this top 10 customers taking by considering that there are certain values in the customer ID which are blank, so they are not 100% right. It's just I'm just giving the uh, I'm just taking the better route that I could take as of now, because there's really no meaningful values that you I could have given to the missing values of customer ID for this data set. And then using rank EQ, I've given particular number. Over here it is total sales, because I want to find out the rank column based on the total amount spent. So I've taken the number as sales, and reference as sales rank, reference as in the total array that I have taken. I've given just a name range for that. And then order as 0, because I want to order it on descending value, which means that whoever spent the most would should be ranked first. That's what I have done using rank.eq, and here you could see the customer IDs and the rank corresponding to that. The highest spent by customer IDs known is 18102 with 5 lakh 50,000 5,50,075 pounds in this case. And then let's go to question number 6. How do sales fluctuate monthly? Create a line chart that shows total sales per month for the year. Relevant Excel functions are text, month, year, sumifs, date, and line chart. Here I've used the help of month and year functions in the data set, because the data set contains only, let me show it to you clearly. The data set contains invoice date, invoice date, which contains both date and time values. I used year and month functions, and I found out the values for that. That's how I've done it. And then using that, I put year and month values into the rows and sum of sales into the values, because I want to know the total sales. And then based on the pivot table, I have inserted a line pivot chart, and here you could see that they are peaks at the time of November every time, and they are lows in December. Let's go to question number 7. Which country has the highest number of transactions? Generate a pivot table that summarizes this number of transactions per country. Relevant Excel functions are COUNTIF and pivot table. Here I have used help of pivot table and put the country into the rows field, and IDs into the transaction values field, and I renamed it as number of transactions, which is just count of the IDs. Here you could see that the highest transactions are in United Kingdom, and then EIRE, and then Germany. As you could see, the large difference among them. They are significantly higher transactions in United Kingdom, and no other country came anywhere near that. This might be have been due to the supply distribution efficiencies for this particular country. Let's go to question number 8. Calculate the return rate for each product by comparing the total quantity ordered to the total quantity returned. Relevant functions are sumifs, if, cell, absolute, and pivot table. How did I do that? I put the product description into the rows field of the pivot table fields, and then cancellations into the columns. And here, after doing that, I have found out the total value based on absolute basis. How did I found out? Absolute of cancelled plus normal would give you the total values. And then I have made use of if error function and found out the product return rate. How did I do that? I found out the absolute value of the cancelled, and then I divided it by total, and if there is an error I wanted it to be 0, and here are the product return rates based on that. There's a 100% product return rate for something called as English Rose Design, Kitchen Apron, and some other some other products. And then you have question number 9, segment the customers based on the total expenditure into high, medium, and low tiers. Define the thresholds for each tier based on quartiles. Total expenditure for the customer would be the total sales for the entity. So I've taken the total sales value and quartile INC, and then the array values would be the total values, and then 1 would be the value for the first quartile, 2 would be the value for second quartile, 3 would be the value for third quartile, 4 would be the value for maximum value, and 0 would be the value for the minimum value. And what do you mean by quartiles? First quartile is 25 percentile, second quartile is 50 percentile, and third quartile is 75 percentile. And based on that, I have found out that the 305.86 less than 305.86 pounds are low tier customers. Less from there on until 2079.445 are high tier customers, mid tier customers, and anything about 2079.445 pounds are high tier customers. And one thing you need to keep into consideration over here is that we have done this tiering segmentation based on only the customers that I have known. They are null values in the customer ID, and had we have known some kind of information even for the guest customers, we would have done a much better job for this threshold segmentation, because there's no way that we would have found out the null values for the customer ID. We are doing the segmentation for only the customer IDs that are known. And then the last one is create an interactive dashboard that includes key performance indicators like total sales, average sales per transaction, total products by sales, and sales by country, which filter options for different time periods and product categories. Relevant Excel functions are pivot tables, slicers, charts, dashboard design. Dashboard design I have done using PPT itself. This is not the as it is thing that I have used over here, but it very well was used as a dashboard design by me as a prototype based on which I've done the dashboard creation. Here you could see the total units sold, what's the total sales corresponding to that, what's the average sales, and I have inserted a timeline for to adjust the timeline to however I want to look at sales trend, and also this total sales per country and top products for the country. And then you have filters for cancellations and descriptions. And let me show the dashboard actually more clearly. Here you can see the units sold, total sales, average sales, all in the text box. These are at a glance KPIs, and then filters for cancellations, description, and also customer segmentation. Even based on customer segmentation, there's a filter, and then top 5 products by sales, and the sales trend, and the total sales by country. And also have inserted a timeline, and for all these filters, these are added for the dynamicness of the dashboard, and I made sure that the pivot connections were properly established uh, for the graphs present on this dashboard. Say for example, I want to find out the total high level overview for the high tier customers only. Then just a minute, because it's a very big Excel thing, it's taking a lot of time to respond, and now it has responded. For cancel or normal, you take out based on these filters and based on this timelines. See, it's not responding, but it will work. See, you could see it over here. See dashboard changed for high tier. The total 5 products by sales, the highest one is manual, and then you could see that sales trend too changed. The sales trend for the normal people is high for 11th month, but for high tier customers is for the first month. That's what it's showing. So let's clear the filter, and it would work for other filters too. And that's it for the video. Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Have a good day.